Let's see. All right. Sorry guys, getting my video just right here. It's not quite as high as it needs to be. All right. Maybe I'll just go lower. How about that? It's the benefits of having everything adjust. All right. Well, let's see. So I'm going to be trying to monitor my own comments here. So let me know if you can hear me. Hi, Clay. All right. Are you guys hearing me okay? Sounds good? Thumbs up? All right. Good, good. Okay. Hi, Michelle. Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, great. So it sounds like we're doing all right. Well, yay, I'm glad that a live is finally happening, because really, I mean, with what is happening sometimes with the PPP stuff is it's kind of nice just to pop in and do something live, because things are changing and then news happens, and if I try to record a video earlier and then it takes time to edit it and then I get it up on YouTube, it starts to get to the point where I've had some outdated information even if I just record the day before. So here we are. So I thought I'd just pop in. So I'm going to take a couple minutes just to give an update on where we are on there was talks about doing a standalone PPP bill. And then there was also talks about stimulus negotiations, which would include a PPP provision. So I'm going to talk about both of those things. And then another little news related article or item. And then if we have some time, we can do some Q&A. So maybe wait and put your questions, because I love that everybody's saying hi. Hello. I actually I used to get really nervous about lives, but now I think they're pretty fun because everybody's like popping in and saying hi and doing all this stuff. So we will do a little Q&A session at the end, but if you can, hold off on your questions until we get to that point, because yeah, I just want to make sure that we get them and I don't have to do tons of scrolling to find them through all of the hellos and whatnot. So, but anyways, I'm really glad to have you guys all here, and it seems like I'm giving people a couple minutes to sort of pop on, say hi, do all those things. Yay. All right, I see some very familiar names. Thank you guys all for being here and supporting the channel. You guys are awesome. And I do this for you. So anyways, all right, well, let's get started. So the first thing that I wanted to mention is the PPP Standalone Bill. So you might have heard that on Tuesday, there was discussion that there might be a vote on a PPP Standalone Bill. And this was going to essentially add additional funding to the funds that were already there. There was like $135 billion or something left over once they closed the door on the PPP applications back in August. So there was still some money left over. So they were going to reopen the doors for applications and then add some more money to the pot. However, that did not happen. So there is no PPP standalone bill. And from what I can understand, based on everything that I've been reading, it was kind of just political discord. And just the Democrats were wanting the PPP to be put into a full stimulus bill. And that was probably, honestly, this is my speculation, one of the bargaining chips that they were trying to use, because it seems like everybody, Republicans and Democrats, are all wanting to add more funds to the PPP. However, the Republicans were trying to push through a standalone bill. The Democrats wanted it part of the larger bill. So here we are at a place where we do not have a standalone bill, okay? And now that we're close to the election. So remember to vote November 3rd, because that is coming up soon. Make your plans to vote. That's 11 days away. So with these votes coming up, with the election coming up, it's just starting to get more about politics more than anything else, okay? And I'm not going to talk about politics here. I'm just going to mention, because of everything going on, it's really hard for people to be making any really big strategic decisions right now. So that goes into the second topic that you guys have probably been paying attention to, is the stimulus package. What is going on with the stimulus package? Well, Still, as of Friday, today, October 23rd, we're still not at a place that we have a negotiations on a second stimulus package. And honestly, from everything I've been reading and everything that seems to be coming up on this topic, it's probably looking really like it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen before the election. Okay. So this again, it kind of comes down into politics. It comes down to a lot of things. There were still a number of issues between Nancy Pelosi and Stephen Mnuchin were negotiating, and there's still lots to hash out between the Democrats and the Republicans. Okay, it doesn't seem like they're going to get there. It really doesn't. So stimulus package is just looking less and less likely. I'm not going to say it's not going to happen because we don't know that, right? We don't know what the results of the election will be. We don't know the timing of everything. But what we do know is that if it does not get passed and something happens before the election, we would be looking at after the lame duck session before anything could really happen. So like everybody who got voted in, it's not like they take office right away, right? So we have to wait for them to take office before all of that might get rocking and rolling again. Okay. I'm not in politics, so I'm probably using all the wrong terms. But just give me a little bit of grace there. Okay. So if basically what this comes down to right now is stimulus package, very, very low likelihood before election. If it does still happen, we're looking at a couple months away. Okay. So what that means for PPP. What that means for PPP is that we should go ahead and start applying for forgiveness if you believe that you've spent all the money in the right way and you've spent all your money and you want to just go ahead and get this thing off your plate and you believe you can achieve 100% forgiveness. I would highly encourage you to go ahead and start the process. Okay. What I've been looking at is that, or what I've been noticing as I've been helping clients and also just as, as I've been helping clients, I actually was in a bank yesterday and talking to the bank manager, and she was like, oh, it's time for PPP forgiveness. So you're going to get an email and blah, 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 blah. So all of the banks are starting to pick up their activity on PPP forgiveness. Okay. Now, if you are, and I'm just checking on my comments here to make sure I'm keeping an eye on things. If you are in a situation where your loan is under $50,000, you may have seen my video that explained the 3508S form. The 3508S is specifically used for loans under $50,000. Some banks are not ready to accept those loans yet because that form just came out. So we're going to be struggling, or we're going to have to wait a little bit for those banks to really format what they need to do in order to accept loans and start forgiving loans under $50,000. Because here's what happens. The SBA comes out and they say, okay, now it's time to, or they put out a new form. They put out a new form. And then the banks are going, okay, well, now we have to go and change our bank portals because we were going to tell all of our clients that we needed this document, this document, this document. But before that 3508S form, you still need to upload documents, but some of the other wording and formats have changed, and you don't need to submit quite as much information as you would have if you're doing an easy form or the full 3508. Okay, so between those issues, some banks are needing a little bit more time. So I would say continue to just wait on the banks. If you haven't heard from your bank yet, it's okay to go ahead and start checking in with them. That would totally be fine. Contact your bank manager, whoever it is that's in charge of business loans, and just say, hey, just curious about the status of PPP forgiveness. And that's it, okay? And they should be able to tell you, hey, yeah, our bank portal is being worked on. We're expecting in the next couple weeks or whatever it might be. Now, I can tell you that I know Bank of America is now accepting loans because I recently helped a client with theirs. KeyBank is another one that I've been helping clients with. And I think Chase portals are now open too. So If you have a bank that you know is now accepting loans, feel free to go ahead and put it in the comments, or loan forgiveness. Feel free to go ahead and put it in the comments, okay? Because that might help somebody else out, okay? Let's see. I have a couple things, and then we'll get into Q&A. One thing I wanted to say is I've been noticing a couple of you, especially once the 3508S form came out, I saw that a couple people are asking the question about whether or not they need to show on their forgiveness form the amount that they want less their EIDL amount. So let's say that they got a loan of $20,000 and they got an EIDL advance of $1,000. Do they need to show that they're asking for forgiveness of 19 on the form or 20 on the form? So the answer is you need to put your full forgiveness amount that you're asking for, which is the $20,000, put that on your form. The SBA will take care of netting it out with your EIDL advance, okay? So that's the answer for that. Make sure you put your full forgiveness on the 3508S form. Do not back out the EIDL advance, okay? Okay, that was just one question that I had seen a couple comments on, so I wanted to make sure that got addressed. All right, so I'm glad people are putting some banks in here. I'm just going to read out a couple, so just for the video. All right, so Zions Bank, Chase, yes. TD Bank is accepting PPP forgiveness. Silicon Valley Bank is accepting forgiveness, and it's really easy. That's always good. Okay, yeah, and then somebody just said, is Bank of America accepting 3508S? Maybe not yet. I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. The client that I was helping was not using the S form. So if that helps at all. Okay, I'm going to tackle a couple questions. So if you have a question, put it below. Webster Bank isn't accepting. Capital One. Okay, if you got your loan through a processor such as Cabbage, do you apply for forgiveness through the processor or the bank who made the loan? Michael, I'm not sure. I thought Cabbage was the actual lender. So you'll probably, whoever you applied for the loan through should probably be whoever is going to notify you about the forgiveness process. Who do you actually have your promissory note with? That's what I would be curious about. So Michael, who is your promissory note with? That's what I would say. No word on Wells Fargo yet. Yes, Naomi, yes. If it's under $50,000, whether or not you have employees, you can still use the PPP 3508S form. Sorry, I said it wrong. Naomi. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking sideways because I'm seeing some comments here, but they disappear sometimes. So, all right, I'm going to keep answering some questions. My 24 weeks are ending on November 8th. I have finished my funds. Do I need to apply on the 8th or can I apply later? How do I decide? Asin, if I'm saying that right, you have up to 10 months after the end of your covered period to apply for forgiveness. So you have a little bit of time. This really comes down to your preference. Do you want to try to just get it done with, or do you need to take any time? My opinion is that if all of your documentation is in order and you believe you can achieve 100% forgiveness, there is no reason to wait. You might decide to wait just based on administrative convenience. So let's say you have a big project happening right now. You might not want to be also trying to tackle PPP forgiveness. But like in my case, I think that December is kind of a busier month from some of the finance activities. So I'm going to try to push it earlier for myself and a lot of my clients, just because we have the time and space and energy to work on it, okay? And with our planning that we did, we know that we've spent all the money in the right way. Pulling documentation is not going to be an issue. So we're going to go ahead and just get it done, you know? but that's kind of a choice and it's up to you. All right. I'm gonna just scan through here and see if I can find some more questions. So there's a question about my tax book and financials will have a permanent difference between, oh, sorry, it keeps moving. PPP forgiveness amount is not deductible item. Is that correct? So, and this is SKWA. We're running into an issue where I do have a video on the tax deductibility of the PPP, so you might want to go and watch that. The expenses right now are not deductible. So what you would do, what we will do right now, as we know it right now, which this could change if there is some PPP legislation that comes later on down the road, but what we would do is once we clear that loan off of your bank, so you get a forgiveness determination from the bank after the SBA has reviewed your file, you will have to clear that loan off of your balance sheet. And once you do that, you would also remove expenses. The expenses related, whatever you spent the PPP money, those expenses would essentially be wiped off of your P&L. So once we have a little bit more clarity on that, I'll definitely do a video on that because it's going to be confusing for a lot of people. But no, I don't think there'll be a permanent book to tax difference for this issue. I see I have a $24,500 EIDL loan. How do I apply for more funds? Right now, I don't think you can apply for additional EIDL loans or funds. And then right now, there's also, you cannot apply for another PPP loan right now. Okay, there is no way for you to do that. If there's legislation that happens down the road, then we might get into a situation where there's more money and we can open back up the PPP application process. And they had been talking about if they do open it back up, they might have some financial restrictions. Like you might have to prove you've had a certain amount of revenue loss in the business or things like that. But right now it's all speculation because there is no law and no bill to get any more money. All right. On the 3508S form, it looks like no documents are needed to send with the form. Is this correct? Chris, actually, it's not. I wish I had my 3508S form in front of me. You will have to still provide documentation, but you're just not going to have to show the calculation of exactly what's there. But your bank will probably still require documentation. All right. What documents are needed for sole proprietor, no payroll service, but use the payment to self 100% transferred from business account to personal? Okay, if you're a self-employed and you don't have any employees, you will show your owner's compensation by proving out with your Schedule C from 2019. You will take your 2019 Schedule C, and that is the main source of documentation for your to prove out your owner's compensation, okay? And your owner's compensation is your payroll costs, okay? Be sure to watch my full video on self-employed individuals because that goes into more detail there, okay? Sergio, how can I or what should I use to prove any income has decreased more than 50%? So this is a question that would be if there is a second PPP loan. There was this talk about proving out decreased revenue. And Sergio, we don't have a second PPP loan. Sorry, we don't have the ability to access any more PPP funds right now until there's legislation to open that back up. We don't have it. What would be used will probably, if we do get there, what will be used was probably going to be a month-by-month P&L. If you've ever pulled your P&L from QuickBooks or from one of the other accounting softwares, you can get your P&L in columns, so like January, February, March, and then once you have that, you'll be able to prove a time period with a decrease. So that's probably what they would use. So make sure you have your accounting records in order, okay? Are we incurring interest on our loan, or will we have to pay even if we are 100% forgiven? Great question. Any accrued interest on the PPP loan will be forgiven along with the level of your loan. So if you're 100% forgiven, 100% of the interest will be also forgiven. But let's say only half of it was forgiven, then you're going to be on the hook for that 50% of, so the interest on that other 50% that wasn't forgiven. Okay. For sole props, only Schedule C or also bank statements required for documentation. You know, I'm going to do more videos specifically around documentation. For some reason, I can't remember that off the top of my head right now. Definitely a Schedule C. You might need to also show your bank statements for sole proprietors. I actually believe that it's unnecessary, but that's my opinion. I'm not the bank and I'm not the SBA. But Michael, TBD on that one. So Slugger asked, where can I get a guaranteed business loan? So the PPP is actually guaranteed by the federal government, but they're not available. If you don't already have one, they're not available right now. My payroll. Aseen asked her that she said her payroll is lower than it was because some employees did not want to come back. They wanted to stay on unemployment. They didn't want to come back even though she offered them a job back. This is actually a very common problem. So they have specifically made a safe harbor for this particular issue. If your employees decided not to come back after you offered them a position and you documented that, then you are off the hook for having to worry about your PPP being reduced for that amount. That's an FTE headcount reduction, and that's a safe harbor provision for that specific situation. So because of that, you do not have to worry about reducing your PPP forgiveness there, okay? Oh, what is the deadline 1031 for? Okay, so are you guys asking? This is something that I wanted to show. All of the 3508S forms have this 1031 documentation expiration in the corner, and it's ridiculous. There's actually a FAQ, I think it's an FAQ that even says, yeah, there's a 1031 date on all the paperwork, but don't worry about it. So they're probably just going to reissue all the forms with a new date on it. Okay, so for whatever reason, they put a super early expiration date on it. So good question. Okay, yep, definitely documentation videos are coming up for sure. Taxes on self-employed. Good question. I have been discussing this with a couple other CPAs. I don't know what they're going to do yet. Okay. Documentation around people leaving and not coming back so that you can say and prove that you have safe harbor on those items. Make sure that you offer them an offer letter, or you have some sort of documentation showing that you want to have them come back to work. So this could be an email. This could even be a text message. I would highly recommend not using text messaging, but it could be an email or a formal, letter that you ask them to come back to work. And then you need to document what their response is. If they do not respond, you should document when you sent an email, when you sent a follow-up email, when you sent a third follow-up email, however many follow-ups you do, document all of that. And this is literally just, even if you need to take screenshots of things, put it in a Word document, save it, say, hey, I was trying to hire Lindsay back and Lindsay didn't respond to my email. I asked her 3 times to come back. She never responded. Therefore, I've offered a good faith employment and she has refused it by being non-responsive. Okay, and that would be enough to document that you tried your best, but those people didn't come back, okay? You're gonna need to keep a file on each employee that chose not to come back, All right. And technically you are supposed to report them to the unemployment office. Okay. There are some kind of specific questions coming in, and I actually have to hop off. I am actually in an all-day ethics CPE continuing education, and this is my lunch break, so I'm going to have to pop back into that in a minute. But I am glad that you guys were all able to join me today. Please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up if it was helpful at all to you. I would love to have some more likes on this video. It certainly helps me out. And also, feel free to share this with anybody that you know that's kind of been having questions around PPP. We will be doing more videos, and I'll respond to more of the comments too. So if you did leave a question, I'll go in and try to answer it, okay? If you videos coming up, definitely doing more on documentation. That's going to be a big one. I also want to hear what your banks are saying. So I'm going to be keeping an ear out and an eye out for what the banks are asking for, so I can try to give you guys an idea of like where they're being nitpicky and where they're not. Okay. So keep an eye on that. Definitely tax. Absolutely, Dave, as much as I can possibly find out about tax, I will let you guys know. And then, I'll be keeping my ear out on anything on EIDL as well. But if there's anything else, feel free to put it in the comments. If it's like still a big black hole, we don't know the answer to it, I will let you know. But as soon as we do, I will make another video on it. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. Thanks for being here. It was fun to do a live. I'll probably do another one. So, all right. Bye, everyone.